Hello and welcome to the May 2021 slideshow. I'm Tom Hogan. I'm here with Dave Kroeger, who is going to be our presenter this month. We are actually sitting here today on April 30th, and we're recording this show in advance because the Iowa chapter meet, which by the time you see this will already be over, will hopefully be going on and hugely successful on the 14th and 15th. And then everyone is going to be so tired and hungover that they're just going to be sleeping and not want to actually be recording a show on May 16th. So we are here, and we're recording today for the May 16th show. Now, with me today is Dave Kroeger. Say hello to everybody, Dave.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
So Dave is here, and he's going to be sharing with us some slides from his travels during the time of pandemic of 2020.
Pandemic rail fanning at its best.
Absolutely.
You know,
so
it's a great social distancing hobby. That's for sure.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So thanks, everybody, for tuning in today.
All right. Now, I do want to point out one more thing before we get started. We have the Grand Mound Depot Day, which is coming up on June I believe June 25th.
It's the last Saturday in June.
Yes, and we're gonna have the restored depot at Grand Mound is gonna be open for people to see. We're gonna have a little outdoor friendly get together for anybody that would like to join us. So feel free to come out and hang out with us that day. Now, let's get on to the slideshow.
All righty, thank you, Tom. We're gonna start off the end of January of 2020. This is a trip that Dana Grief and I took over to, we went to the Monticello Train Show first, and we saw you there at the chapter table. And I had seen something on Facebook about this 686 train on the CP that was just around Dubuque. So after the train show, when we saw you, we headed over to Bellevue, and we caught this southbound ethanol train with a couple NS units and a CSX trailer going past where the depot used to stand there in Bellevue. It's now a grocery store. As a matter of fact, the grocery store has pretty good food there, Tom. So, as a little stop for lunch. So we chased this guy all the way down to Sebula. We'll go to the next slide there. There's another shot of the 7624. Seems like these ethanol trains, I don't know if you noticed, Tom, they kind of go back and forth, going via Dubuque, or they go up via Portage and come down to Marquette. I think it's just whatever the CP decides they want to do. This is at, of course, Sebula, on the approach to the Sebula drawbridge. You can see kind of off to the right of that second unit, there's a foundation that used to be where the old signal bridge used to stand on the Milwaukee road days. And, of course, you still have a code line, telephone pole line that dates back to the Milwaukee, too. There used to be about 3 tracks here. Now it's just one single track. On our way back to the Des Moines area, we caught this UP Maintenance Away hybrid locomotive sitting on the siding there at Loudon. Kind of a funky little deal.
I don't know if anybody really knows what to call it.
I don't know what to call it either. It's just...
it's a SD40 car body.
Yes. An
SD40 frame with a big boxy car body on it that...
Yeah.
Yes.
It... built down at Relco there in Albia. Of course, you can see the Relco logo up there on the front, below the window there. And that's the other end of the train with the cranes that picks up the ties and so forth. Yeah, it's a funky little unit, though. So we stopped there along Highway 30. It was sitting in the Loudon siding, so we grabbed a couple shots of that.
They had done a huge tie replacement during that summer.
Oh, yes.
Leading up to when, and that's why this apparently just got stranded there at Loudon when they were done replacing ties.
Yeah. And then we saw a headlight there at Clarence, and this is the eastbound Bird, and this guy was doing all 70 mile an hour like an old streamliner of yesteryear. It's going heading east past the Ralston pre-unit elevator there in Clarence. This is Super Bowl Sunday. I got a tip from Brad Grief about a empty Pleasant Hill grain train with 3 NS units that he had seen in Ottumwa earlier that morning. So I ventured on down south along Highway 5, and I waited at Knoxville here. And this is the train coming into Knoxville on the BNSF Des Moines branch. Probably doing about 25, 30 mile an hour. You can get ahead of these trains. There's a lot of slow orders on this line where you can shoot, and then get up a little ways ahead of them and get them at the next spot.
So this is actually a remnant of the Wabash connection to Des Moines.
Yes.
This haulage rate trains, I believe it's what it is.
This is an empty grain train for Pleasant Hills, where this guy was going. This is just west of Knoxville, about milepost 37 after they cross, I think it's the Des Moines River or someplace, one of those bridges. I don't think this is the Des Moines River, but there's a nice bridge that's west of Knoxville there. You can see it from Highway 92 on the 4-lane there. And there's a nice little overpass here at milepost 37. You can get a good head-on shot of the train coming around here. It's probably going about 20, 25 mile an hour. Very friendly crew, too, this day. And here's the Des Moines River. This is just south of Runnels, westbound, and this Des Moines River Bridge. This was built when they redid Red Rock Dam in the late 60s when the CB&Q was here at the time.
Yes, this was a forced engineering project.
Yes, it was. Okay, this is a place you're probably familiar with, Tom, from your days on the railroad. This is Wood Junction on the south side of Dubuque. This is a CP, I think this is a 675 empty train going north, right there at the south end of the CN yard in Dubuque.
Yes, yard lead in the foreground, main line, where the train is.
Here's another southbound. This is B30. You want to say B39? 9. Yes, thank you. I'm trying to remember that. Right there down through the streets of Bellevue. Always a nice shot of the train headed south there through the streets.
Yep.
Up next, an eastbound stack train at Savannah with the new bridge in the background. Heading east towards Chicago.
Looks like there's somebody lined up on the westbound side as well.
Yes. Well, now this is all CTC pretty much. So, back when I started coming over to Savannah, way back when, where this train is, of course, is on the eastbound. And then, of course, you have the westbound. It was all track warrant control. But now with these CTC islands the BNSF has put in, you can run trains on either track through here now.
Well, yeah, it's not even an island. It's CTC.
It's CTC, yes.
From Savannah all the way up to Prairie du Chien.
And beyond.
Yes.
Okay, so I did something a little different this time. Instead of hanging around Savannah, I drove up towards Galena and went down to Portage Junction, or just west of there, at 173. That's where the CN or the IC used to come in and run joint track with the BN all the way to East Cabin. Here's a westbound manifest train. And then Portage would be down just, probably about 20, 30 car lengths back of the train there. That's where the CN goes up the hill towards Galena and up out of the Mississippi River Valley there.
I think you might be able to just see a signal mast poking over the top of one of those hoppers.
You can, yeah. This is what they call the boat dock crossing at 173 here.
I don't know if you can really drive back in there to where Portage used to be.
I don't think you can. Not anymore.
No, you could hike back there, but that's about it.
That's about it, yes. And here's I got a tip from Craig Williams about this train. This is a U704 ethanol train headed towards Chicago. And it seems like when I watch ATCS on this area, on the BNSF, the dispatcher will run these CN trains a lot on Main 1. You don't see very many on Main 2 when they get lined up at Portage or up there at the cabin. Everything on the CN usually stays on that North Main there, like here. And then after this train got by, I noticed my front tire on my left side had a little cut. I'm going like, oh my gosh. So I had to go into Dubuque, get my tire fixed, and I got it fixed. Then if you want to go to the next slide, I got right back over to East Dubuque and caught 338 leaving town at outside of East Dubuque there. So, and this train's on Main 1 here as well. So, okay, after I got back from Florida in March of 2020, I had a day off, and I heard that the CN rail detector car was on the Iowa Interstate. And as you can see here, this is at the time when the interstate was building their new bridge over the Raccoon River there at Boonville. So I got a shot of him just after he crossed the old bridge there at Boonville. This is in March of 2020, by the way.
This rail detector car makes basically an annual trip across the Iowa Interstate.
It does.
From Council Bluffs east, it seems.
Yes, it does. And here's the same 1501. Again, this is just outside of West Des Moines near Raccoon River Park. And you can see down there below, if you notice, the laser there just picking up the defects and all that.
Yes, the track geometry
Yes.
sensor.
Yes. Okay, this is March of 2010. I was coming back from seeing my friend Tammy there in Malcolm after the Malcolm Fireman's Breakfast, and I stopped in Newton, and the CBBI flip crew that comes out of Newton, this has since changed now, was getting ready to make up their train and head on east over to South Amana, and then would bring the west train back out of South Amana. And that's the crew there. There's Tony on the left, and then on the right is Dan Bass. Some of you might know Dan. He's been around the interstate for a long time, since about 1994. He left briefly for a couple years to help his family out back in Illinois, but he's been back on the interstate now, I would say about 4 or 5 years now. So, and he's a closet rail fan, but he's a good guy too. So, this is at Albia at Maxon. Just one Sunday, I took a drive down towards Ottumwa. Here we have a sand train on Main 2, headed east, and then hearing about the next frame, you'll see why he's on Main 2. Here comes number 6. It's going to get around him there before they get to Ottumwa.
Got a beat up engine there in the lead.
A lot of those,
Yes.
P42s are getting beat up now. This was sitting down at Relco, just outside their shop. I can't remember off the top of my head now why this 8441 was there. I think it was involved in a wreck someplace out west.
It's amazing how nicely that fuel tank fits into the center, the depressed center guard.
Yes.
Yes. It's almost like it's designed that way.
Yeah. And they had a lot of these Santa Fe 45-2s sitting around there that Sunday I was down there. So I got the 6495. Notice got the GN for Great Northern. Even though Great Northern never owned a 45-2, they had 45s and 45 passenger SDP 45s, but not 45-2s. All right, so here is the 474 train on the CP at Rutledge, coming south at the south end of Rutledge, past the searchlight signal. My friend Keith Hawkins, who some of you may know, was supposed to be called for this train on Sunday, and then they busted his call. For some reason, I think they had gotten some sort of delay up around Muscatine, but then he got recalled for this train later on in the afternoon. So here it is at Rutledge. And if you want to go to the next slide, it had to get yarded. So while his train is sitting in the yard, here come an empty Fruitland train. This is up at 300 there, towards halfway top the hill there at Rutledge.
Yeah.
In Ottumwa there.
The intermediate signal in the middle of the...
Yeah.
That's a hike to get to that spot, too.
Yes, it is.
You lose some weight that day.
I did.
Hiking around.
Good for me. And here's that same 474, and then they dropped off the trailing motor there at Ottumwa, and this is at Moravia. And you can see there's Keith's hand. He was the engineer on this day. He's headed towards Kansas City. I think I got another shot maybe of him. There's Keith right there with wave. Keith's dad was a conductor for the Milwaukee Road out of Cedar Rapids here for a lot of years. Worked Cedar Rapids and Marion Yard, and then when the Milwaukee shut down, his dad went to Ottumwa and worked down there till he retired. Here's another. This is in April after they told everybody to stay home for a while. So it was a nice April Sunday, and I knew there was an NS empty grain train for Des Moines coming on the interstate. So I started at Newton, and this is the Newton switch engine headed towards Des Moines with a bunch of empty gons headed west. And I was lucky this day because I got over to Grinnell, and I always make sure when I'm on Old Highway 6, I check the signal time for the diamond there at Grinnell, because a lot of times it's red, but when you see it green, you know there's a train.
Yep.
Very close. So here's the Oski local headed south with an XSP SD or Jeep 60, excuse me. He only had 5 cars on this day. So, and there's the empty Des Moines grain train for Des Moines, and then we have an inbound BICB with the Heritage 513 Rock Island engine leading at South Amana. So I chased the NS train west. This is at Malcolm, Iowa. They had set out of Set out a few cars here, 5 cars for the elevator here. And then this is on the west side of Grinnell.
This is a nice overpass.
Yes,
I've shot from here before
yes,
as well.
it used to be a wooden overpass at one time.
Yeah, now it's concrete.
And it's wide open, wide on either side, and you can get good shots. Same train again at Kellogg, heading west.
Oh, not just an NS train, but solid NS hoppers too.
Yes.
That is a rare catch.
Yes, it is. Then the train weaved through the yard at Newton briefly, and they stopped. They had to line the west siding switch, so I went down to Colfax, got them there at Colfax, and I broke chase after that. So here's this is a late afternoon, early evening shot. I heard this guy on the scanner when it was leaving Earlham. This is a BN coal train on the interstate at West Des Moines, out by Raccoon River Park. You can see they just dropped some fresh ballast. They did a lot of track work around on the west end this last year. So it's about 7:30 at night. I'm just surprised this shot turned out pretty good. Dana and I, we went up to Boone and Nevada. I think we met you this day later on. I think you gave us some stuff there at State Center. I think we met you there.
Yep.
This is the Boone and Scenic Valley going to work out on the going out to the east end of Boone. Right there, downtown Boone there.
Yes, with the Great Western inspired switch engine. Yes.
This is another Sunday. I think I was either probably coming back from Cedar Rapids or Marion from the Folkses, and here's CBBI laying over there at Newton. Just some empty flats from Clive, and then some stacks, and then the rest of it was all ethanol.
I'm surprised they let them run with those empty flat cars, empty long steel flat cars on the head end.
Yes. Here's a Newton switch engine coming back from Des Moines. And this is at Colfax here, of course, with 3 units. They did a lot of, at the time, the Des Moines switch engine was coming down from Newton, and they've since rebulleted a job now. It works out of Des Moines. And you can see off to the left on the siding, there's a bunch of sand hoppers that had been stored there for quite some time. Here's another coal train on the interstate there at Newton one Saturday morning after it just got in from Council Bluffs there. And you can see on the far right some of those old Montreal commuter cars that the interstate had. Still up for sale, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think they're going anywhere now.
No, not at all. And that's the same morning, too. That's the eastbound right there at Newton, right where the yard used to be at one time. This is about milepost 323, 324, somewhere in that range there. Right,
nice light for a morning shot there.
Yes, coming up the hill too. It's another day. I think Dan and I, we were at Nevada. I think this is a Sunday where you came out. This is a stacked train that headed south on the spine line here at Chicago Junction. Highway 30 there in the background. You can barely see the top of the overpass there. Same day, this is the eastbound Bird. This is out at the elevator crossing just west of KC Junction. And here we have a meet there at South Nevada. This is a southbound train come down from Mason City. He's going to meet a northbound here with that 8982. And then once he gets on the clears, and that 8982 will go north towards Mason City. Here's this is another Albia trip down to Albia and Ottumwa. I always like to check out what's on the connector for the Iowa Southern Railroad there, which is the old Wabash there in Albia, right by the middle school. And there's a couple of these old what we used to call Santa Fe hot rods, GP60Ms, that have been remodified for switch engine and local service. There's the 106, and then you have the 119 in the background. And hard to believe, 30 years ago, Tom, this was prime power on Santa Fe pig trains.
And these were geared for really high speed operation. I believe when they go to Relco, they actually gear them down
now.
For pulling power.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been they were geared for 70 mile an hour operation.
Yep. Yes, they were. Here's this is Des Moines train, I believe, doing some work there also at Albia. This is where Iowa Southern, or used to be the old Wabash, would connect into the BN, and then we'd go up to Des Moines. I think this crew is out of Ottumwa. I think they set out that rear unit, which is another GP60M. If you look back there, that third engine, yes.
Another set out for Relco to work
Another Relco job. There's the conductor there with the 158 there. One time there used to be signals, and even way back, I have a book on Burlington depots in Iowa and towers, and there used to be a tower here at one time before CTC was installed by the Burlington in the early 30s. So,
wow.
Yeah, and there used to be a tower at Maxon. There used to be a tower at Halpin, too. And then when they put CTC in, they rendered the tower here and the tower at Halpin, they took out. But they kept the Maxon tower, I think, up until the 40s, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here we are. This is another empty coal train out of either Muscatine or Fruitland coming down the hill on the CP at Waller there in Ottumwa.
I believe those blue-ended hoppers, those are Muscatine powered water cars.
I think you're right. Yep.
Although it looks like they've got a few stragglers in there, too.
Sure.
Yes.
And Brad Grief knows the local crew that works out of Ottumwa there, and they went up to Muscatine this day, and wouldn't you know it, they added a 40-2, which you don't see very often, much anywhere on any railroad these days. Took about 38 cars up to Muscatine on this day, so we're at the top of the hill here at Rutledge at the south siding switch, and when we got it going past the old Milwaukee Road signal there, searchlights. Yep.
Yeah, the roadbed there, just in the background, is where the Cedar Rapids line used to split off. Cedar Rapids
line went in there, yes.
Yes. You know, for the amount of time that I spent running back and forth in SD40-2s on the IC&E, you thought they would never run out of those things, and now you can't hardly find one.
Hardly find one. Yeah, that's true. Here's another Sunday afternoon chase. Brad tipped me off about a Des Moines train coming north on the Des Moines sub on the BNSF. So I went down to about I'd say Pleasantville or so. I followed this guy back into Des Moines. Of course, here we are at south of Reynolds, crossing the Des Moines River there.
Are you sure this is the Des Moines River?
It is this time.
We're 100% certain.
Oh yes, I had to get that in the shot. And very friendly crew too. So, yes. All right, this is mid-June, about June 12th or so of last year. I've been wanting to get up to the D&I, Dakota and Iowa Railroad, for quite some time. And, of course, our vice president, Dana Grieve, is a Sioux City native. So we went up there on a Thursday, and he gave me a nickel tour of all the railroad sites around Sioux City. And then we went over to the old Milwaukee Yard, which is where the D&I is located there in Sioux City. And what this operation is pretty neat. So every afternoon about 2 o'clock, the road crew comes on duty, and they will make up the train that they will take up to Chatsworth, Iowa. And then they will bring a train that sits at Chatsworth that has come down from Del Rapids, Sioux Falls, and then they will tie the northbound down, and then they bring the southbound back later that day into Sioux City. So we're going to follow this train a little way up to Chatsworth and back. So this is at Steuben Street there in Sioux City in the old Milwaukee Yard, and also the CN will come down here and interchange with the D&I, so will the UP, and so will the BN. The BN is the line that used to go, this line will go up to Elk Point, is back behind that signal cabinet there, but we'll follow along here.
So just because this is an operation that I know a lot of people are not particularly familiar with, so they operate out of this Milwaukee Road yard.
Correct.
They also operate Milwaukee Road trackage.
Yes,
up
which you'll
into South Dakota.
Yes.
From Sioux City. They have the bridge over the Missouri River there.
Yes.
And then they also operate some CNW track.
Around Hayward, yes.
Yes. So it's kind of a patchwork operation, but they have some lines that they preserved from abandonment that they operate.
Yeah.
But this is their main interchange point.
In Sioux City,
yes. This is where they feed.
And you'll see a lot of truck traffic. Because a lot of the rock will come down from Del Rapids, and then they unload it here, and then it goes in the trucks, and then goes out to the various construction sites around Sioux City, roads, buildings, so forth like that.
Sure.
It's a neat little operation, which you'll see here.
Mm-hmm. And they're running around with SD40s.
That's right. That's right. And I think they're going to get some new ones here, revamped ones pretty soon. At least
new SD40s?
New used SD40s,
Yes.
I guess. So that's the last rumor I've heard, anyway. So,
yes.
All right. So what happens here is the train leaves Sioux City about 4 o'clock. It has an engineer, and the conductor will follow along in his pickup. Okay, their company pickup. So they'll go on the BNSF up to Elk Point, and then they get a warrant at North Sioux City, from North Sioux City to Elk Point, and then at Elk Point they get on their own railroad, which is the old Milwaukee, and then they take the train up to Chatsworth. This is at Akron, Iowa. This used to be a flag stop, believe it or not, Tom, on the Midwest Hiawatha at one time.
All right.
It's still the original depot there too.
Yes, and this is part of the former Milwaukee Road track.
Right, this is on Milwaukee Road, north of Elk Point, there in Sioux City. So yeah, so this is the southbound train that comes out of Del Rapids. This is at Chatsworth, just a wide spot in the road. Well, the actual town is north of where the siding is at here. So this train's been parked here since probably about mid-afternoon. And Dana and I weren't the only ones out here chasing this train. There are about 7 guys from Chicago out here chasing this day too. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
are you gonna incriminate the guilty parties?
No, we won't do anything like that.
All right.
But yeah, you have a 40-2 there, and then you have a Jeep 30 or Jeep 50 is the second unit back there. And if you go to the next shot, here comes the northbound coming into Chatsworth with the 26 and the 28, and then go to the next one. You should have a meat shot right there. Yeah, and just like the Iowa Interstate, they keep their power nice and clean. I mean, it's a very clean railroad there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And lots of those 2-bay hoppers that they load with rock.
Yeah, a lot of and that's even clean too. So here's the southbound train. This is just leaving Chatsworth here. And we talked to the crew before they left. They said, yeah, we'll give you a little smoke, and so forth like that. Just the nicest crew. I mean, they're very friendly. They tell you what's going to happen and so forth like that. So you can see the ethanol tanks back there. Mm-hmm. That comes from an ethanol plant, I think, around Hayward. And I can't think of the name of the town, but I think it is Hayward or somewhere in that area. And then, of course, you can see back there the loaded rock.
Yeah, the open-top rock hoppers.
Open-top rock hoppers, yeah. That's their big source of traffic on this line. Here we are going past at Akron again. This is one of the Everest quarries just south of Akron there. I thought this would be kind of a cool shot, with their railroad going past the owner's sign there.
Yeah, and I was going to point out the same thing. Everest is actually the owners of the DNI. Yep. And that's their primary trade is this rock business, which
construction and so forth like that.
Yeah. They're feeding their own business here.
Yes. And this is just south of, oh God, I can't think of the name of the town. It's not Akron. It's the next town. It starts with the W, and I can't think of it right now. And I should have brought notes, but I'm doing everything from memory that I can. But this is it curves, and then right behind me, probably about a quarter of a mile is where they cross the Missouri back into South Dakota there. Okay, so that was a good trip, that DNI. So
yeah, it looked like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and we'll go back there here later on in the show. So this is Father's Day weekend of last year. Family, we took a ride up to Wisconsin there, and I took the camera along with me, and I noticed the CN was working down in the yard there at Dubuque 338 and had a standard cab leader, and you don't see that very often, especially on this train. So I had my brother pull into the Arby's lot, and I went over across 151, snapped a few photos, and
yes,
there you go.
So yes, an IC engine. It's
too bad it's not a Death Star, but you know what? Right. Beggars can't be choosers in 2020. That's for right. Sure. This is on July 3rd. My brothers and we took a ride down to Fort Madison, something different. And, of course, there's a lot of action on the Santa Fe there, old Santa Fe through Fort Madison. This is a Blue Island, Kansas City auto train, come off the harbor there, going past the old Santa Fe depot, which hopefully pretty soon will become the Amtrak station stop there for the chief there in Fort Madison.
They need a few new tiles for their roof, I think.
Yes, they do. And I encourage anybody, if you ever go down there, go check out the museum. It is a very nice museum. There's a lot of railroad history in there, especially Santa Fe, since it was a Santa Fe town. You know, had a big roundhouse, shops, and so forth. Check it out sometime if you can.
Yep. And then the the K line.
K line is
goes
right
off in the background.
Yes.
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 He's on the double main toward Kansas City.
Yes, he is. Here's another Saturday. This is another trip that Dane and I, we took up to Mason City to visit Rick Anderson, who's a retired dispatcher and rules guy. He started on the Rock Island and then later went to the BN in Chicago Central and Canadian National. And we met up with Dan Sabin for lunch that day in Mason City. So just a couple of juice motors on the Iowa traction around the AGP plant. They're on the south side of Mason City there. And here is one of the Mason City locals. This is just coming back from Spencer. This is just right to the east of the Bear Trap, between the Bear Trap and the yard office there. You've been through here before, I'm sure, a few times.
I forget what the name of that siding is, but yes, it's...
and there was a semaphore right here at this crossing, too.
Or that's the yard lead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's the yard lead. And right behind the power is where there's a fixed aspect semaphore for the approach to the Bear Trap. I don't think
it was there now. So it was up there in 2015, but it's gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was another one of those out by Nora also.
Yes.
East of Nora, but that may be gone as well.
I'm sure it probably has. This is a Sunday. I was home on a Saturday night, not doing anything. I said, like, what am I going to do tomorrow? You know what? I went to bed early. I got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and drove 3 hours down to Fort Madison on a Sunday and did very well. I was there from about 7:30 to 3:30 in 8 hours. I think I saw close to 20 or 21 trains on the Santa Fe main line for a Sunday. That was busy, busy, busy.
Very nice.
This is just a couple of them that I just saw that day. Here's an empty train on the this is a coal train. This isn't an empty. This is a loaded train going south. It's the only train on the K line I saw this day. And you can see you got a train lined up on Main 1 to come east at the bridge.
Yep.
Yeah, then I stopped through Albia on the way home again, checking out what's on the connector. Here are a couple Norfolk Southern B-32 little B boats and some more of those hot rods back there waiting to go down into Relco.
You know, our presenter from April, Sam, he made a big deal out of having one photo of these top hat B units.
Oh, yeah.
And sure enough, here you are with a bunch of rusted out top hat B units that are waiting disposition. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I think they got rebuilt, and then I think they went to a short line somewhere down south. I want to say Georgia, but don't quote me on that, though. Yeah. And here's another empty grain train for Pleasant Hill. Brad had told me about this. This was on a Friday night, so I went down towards around Old Bussy, somewhere in that area. And I just followed this train back towards Des Moines. This is at Pleasantville, Iowa, late in the evening there, 4327, and a EMD trailing out. And this guy, he wasn't breaking any speed records, so I got a few shots of him, but this is what I just put one in here for this program. So.
Yep. Another solid set of NS hoppers back there as well.
Yes. And the next morning, believe it or not, here is an NS train at West Des Moines that had been loaded at 18th Street there at the Agri elevator. This is in West Des Moines on the interstate. So what happened, they had an empty train coming from Peoria, so they took the loaded train and the power, took it out to Boonville, and then ran it around the power out there so the empty train could get into Des Moines. So they did that one Saturday morning, so I went down and got some shots of this guy coming east.
Now, do you know, did he go back by way of Peoria, or did he go back by way of Albia?
This is a train that loads at the 18th Street elevator there in Des Moines on the interstate. It's right just west of Short Line Yard. So this guy would have gone through Peoria.
Okay.
Yep. And sometimes, if you're lucky, on these NS grain trains on the interstate, there might be an NS Heritage engine. Well, the hotline said the Monongahela Heritage engine was on an empty train into Des Moines. So a lot of times when these NS trains are getting loaded in Des Moines on the interstate, they park the power, just east of the East 7th Street crossing, just right south of the state capitol there. So it happened to be parked in a good, decent spot where you can just walk in without doing much, get a few shots and go. So, and this is one NS Heritage engine I did not have in my collection, so it was nice to get.
Check that one off the list.
Checked it off the list, yes.
Yep. Got the nose shot.
Got the nose shot there too, yeah.
Nice light, nice time of day.
Yes, about 5:30 in the afternoon there. Okay, so the end of August, Dana and we wanted to go back to Fort Madison. So this is just highlights of a very hot weekend down in late August at Fort Madison. This is an eastbound train coming into town there with 4 units and a lot of pigs. And it's just one train after the other. I think that whole weekend, we saw close to, between the BN, and of course the UP trackage rights trains and the K-line, I think we saw close to 50-some trains that weekend. So, yeah. One right after that. Here's a UP, this is a Global 4 train out of Joliet that's going to the City of Industry, California. This is at the Ortho Road crossing at Fort Madison. You can see down there the signals. That's the west end of the yard, and right behind me, the BNSF. Just within the last couple of years, they put a new crossover at this crossing here.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you see on your ATCS Ortho, that's where this location is at on the Marceline sub ATCS.
You got 4 of them here, all facing the same direction too.
Yeah, that's even nicer. Yeah, all GE too. So we went down to the depot, BNS. They've built a new yard office / depot here. As many of you know, that's where Amtrak stops currently in the old building that's just behind me here. So they built this new depot within the last, I'd say, 2-3 years or so. And they've moved out of the old one, even though Amtrak is still there. So we drove down there to catch Amtrak come in. And then our friend Andy Zemlicka, who's on the right there, Andy is an engineer from Fort Madison. He got called for this train. So we stopped down there and paid a visit to him. His dad is a retired Santa Fe engineer, and I happened to DJ his dad's wedding about 20-some years ago in Fort Madison. So Andy's been a good friend, and he's a good guy, and so we stopped down there and wished him well on his trip west. So, yeah.
The dad worked out of Fort Madison as well.
Worked a lot to Chicago and Kansas City, both directions there. And he's since retired, so, yep.
Yep. Loading up on the engine.
Yeah. This is the next morning from the footbridge down there by the museum. This is eastbound UP trackage rights trains. And I don't know if you noticed this time, but when you're out here on the Overland Main on the CNW, a lot of these stat trains you only see maybe 2-3 units. Down here they pack the power on 5, 6 up front, maybe a couple in the middle, and maybe another one on the rear down here. I mean, they really pack the power on.
Right. The trackage rights agreement, I believe, has a
lot
horsepower to tonnage ratio
yes.
that they have to meet, and I think that they often exceed.
Yes.
Just out of the... They don't want to have to go to the BNSF and ask to be rescued.
No, that's true. So, yeah, that's kind of the one nice thing about the UP down here is they really pack the power on these trains. We're out west of Fort Madison here, about milepost 2, I want to say 41. There's an old signal bridge, and we're right west of US 61 here. And they really get going out here in the flat as they go upgrade towards Argyle and the Des Moines River into Missouri here. So this is the westbound Z train here. And then we got another UP train right behind him.
So the signal bridge remains, but the signals are missing.
Yes, and they got those new fangled Darth Vader type signals there on the side now. So, yeah. All right, now we're jumping into September of 2020. This is another trip out to Sioux City that Dana and I took on a Thursday. And we took 141 up, and on Thursdays, this is when the Bayard turn heads back west out of Bayard on the Old Milwaukee Road, back to Council Bluffs and Omaha. So this is no crew just yet. I don't think they go on duty at Bayard till about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. And you see they got the caboose, which they use for shove moves, and they're getting all prepared, and they'll head on west and travel down the 10-mile-an-hour track,
I wonder if they could find a few more things to attach to the roof
I know,
of that
like
locomotive.
2 air conditioners.
I mean, maybe we could put a flag or
Yeah.
like a big mast or something.
I know. All right, so this is up at the DNI again. But they go on duty, like I just mentioned earlier, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So this time, we got the 2510 leading the Jeep and I think there's another Jeep 39 or 50 and then a 40 back there. So yeah, a little hodgepodge of power on this northbound train this day. That's at Steuben Street, and here we go, crossing the Big Sioux River there from Iowa into South Dakota at North Sioux City there. And then here's the meet at Chatsworth. Actually, on this day, the crew on the northbound train, they took this train all the way to Haywarden, which is the next town north of Chatsworth, would tie the train down at Haywarden and come back and get this 3030 and then bring it back south to Sioux City.
Really? Did the crew share with you the reason for the change in operation that day?
I don't. They didn't say anything why. They just said they're going to take it up to Haywarden and just tie it down there. So, and then the next morning they used the inbound power to do a transfer work for over to the CN and to the UP here. Just in Sioux City there. Yeah. Like we mentioned earlier, they keep their power nice and clean.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. All right, this is the weekend of our fall Iowa Chapter NRHS meet in Marquette, which you successfully put together. Thank you again, Tom, for doing that. I'm sure you recognize this spot. This is Eckerd's. This is an 812 train out of Portage, Wisconsin, headed south, 1x1. And as you can see, they got the remote control switches at each end. That's something that the ICE did quite a bit back when they had the railroad, and I think that probably saved you from getting out and having to throw a switch or two. Tom, I hate to pick on you about that, but
poor man CTC, that's what we called it.
That's right. Well, anyway, what happened here is we checked into our motel here in Guttenberg, Dana and I, and we're going down the blacktop here to Eckerd's, and here's a guy walking along the road, and it happened to be the conductor of the Marquette local. So we gave him a ride up here to the head end. I don't know if we have that train or not, but we gave him a ride up to the head end. They were taking sand cars. They built a sand train out of the Clayton there, and that's the same. That was the train they were on at Eckerd's, and then they had I think a Portage crew get on this train and take the train north. This is at Lansing. I'm sure you're familiar with this. Running through the streets there. You had a nice 7000 as the DPU. You don't see a lot of them very often down here in Iowa. You see a lot of GEs, but you don't see a lot of that.
You got to be careful when you park your car in Lansing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This is the next day after our meet. I'm sure you're familiar with this train, Tom. That was at 374 that come out of Mason City, headed south.
Yeah, I think this shot was taken right after my encounter with the McGregor police, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot all about that, Tom. Yeah, okay. But you followed that train all the way down. How far did you chase that?
I followed it down to Samoa that day.
Did you? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It's quite a trip. This is counterpart 375. This is a DDG train for one of the ethanol plants. I think Charles City, if I remember right. It had 1x1 BN power. Maybe I had just the one unit, but this is from Highway 18 there at Marquette, and they've really cleaned this up. I hadn't been up here for a couple years, and then I just noticed when we were up there, they had CP built that new maintenance and way building up there on the top right-hand corner there.
Oh, they've cleared a lot of this. The right-hand side there, where all that maintenance away stuff is stacked up, that's all been cleared out now.
Yeah.
Because that was very treed in previously.
Okay.
There's been some work done to clear that, and quite frankly, the yard lead just looks immaculate.
Yeah, it does. It does. And then I think he tipped us off about this guy. This is 475 at Guttenberg with a Heritage 7010 leading. This is the only one I've seen so far out here.
Yes.
I really like the paint job on this, though.
Pretty sharp.
It is sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The throwback to the F units.
Yep. Yeah. And this is coming home from Marquette. We're down Old Highway 20, and I saw cars, and I thought, well, I better turn around. So Dane and I got this CNM 338. This at Masonville, Iowa, here.
Yes, it is.
Rolling about 50 mile an hour.
Just cresting the grade.
Yes. And then we stopped in Ackley for lunch, and then we went into Iowa Falls, and then we heard something talking about a high-wide special on the UP, and there's some windmill blades here. This is at Iowa Falls, about just right south of Mills Tower there, and these windmill blades are going to the logistics park up there at Manly for some new towers to be built around there. Okay, this is October 18th. I know this because I was back home for my parents' anniversary. I had DJ'd a wedding the night before, and I had to help my parents move some stuff. And then the railfan hotline exploded that day. Oh, there's New York Central Heritage 1066 coming west on a CN train. So
you told the parents to go screw off and took off for Dubuque.
No. I would never do that. No.
Nothing's getting moved. No. Your anniversary's moved to next weekend.
Yes. No, we got all that out of the way, and I ran up to Dubuque. I had the camera with me, and of course, there's probably, I would say, half a dozen people out here by the shot tower waiting for this train. So it got held up for some BN traffic, and then it came across the river, so I got it going past the shot tower here, and then it stopped for a crew change. So I made it, went up to Piasta on there's the crew change there. So I got some rosters of it, just blasting away, you know. And then here we are at Piasta at the west end there.
You sure that's not Piosta? That's what Sam was trying to say last weekend.
I know. He said Piosta.
Yes.
But that is Piasta there at the west end. And then there's probably about 6, 7 of us here at the wooden overpass at Beth. Craig Williams included. So, yep. So there's just another shot of the train headed into Winthrop. And then I had to make a long drive back home to Des Moines that night, too. But, you know, it was worth the trip, you know. Don't see that very often. This is probably early November. This is at Terra. Went up to Fort Dodge at one Saturday. This is local power coming off the Omaha District main line. You can see some cars back down there in the Terra yard. This just used to be a yard and tracks, and of course within the last 15 or so years, you got 2 ethanol plants out here in Terra, which do a lot of business with not only the CN, but the UP too.
Yes. So there's Diamond here with the UP, which is out of the picture.
Right.
But then the split for the Omaha line
is
and the
right
Sioux
there.
City
Is
line.
Right there in front where that pilot is at. Yeah.
Yep.
The switch is just on the other back.
Yeah.
Right at the crossing.
To go left is to go to Omaha. To go right
to Cherokee
is off to
Cherokee and Sioux City.
Yep.
Actually, there's another shot. That's a Fort Dodge switch engine. He's going to bring some cars off the yard lead, then he'll come down the hill into Fort Dodge there.
Yep.
And there you go. There's the Diamond right there. This is light power for a grain train out of Kinneret on the Omaha district there. It's going to go down there, pick up its train, and then we'll come back east. You can see what's left. Still the Terra Depot, the old M and St. L Depot there in the background. It's still standing, believe it or not.
Yes.
Hadn't fallen down yet. And as most know, there used to be a gated diamond here at one time.
Yes, now it's a dispatcher controlled interlocking.
Right. Now. It was dispatcher controlled interlocking because you had to unlock the gate, you know. But when I was up here, I was just kind of scrounging around in the ditch, and I found a piece of the old gate.
Oh.
Still in the ditch.
Somebody must have decided the gate was just a suggestion.
Yes. So I took part of that gate with me. So just held on to a little piece of Iowa Railroad history here. So
yeah.
Here's that same light power that went to Kinneret. This is just coming down the hill into Fort Dodge. Just east of Terra there at that first crossing east of there. And then later on in the afternoon, L570 had come in from Sioux City with a pair of CSX motors. And our friend Craig Williams happened to be in Fort Dodge that day, and he got called for this train. So There's Craig on the 119 pulling out of Terra. And there's Craig again. Smile, Craig, for the camera. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's gonna, if he's watching this, he's going to love it. So, anyway, I followed him out to Farmland Wide at Judd, which is just west of Duncan there. As most of you know, there's a big nitrogen plant out there that does a lot of business with the CN. So they had to make a pickup out of here. So I took a couple shots of this train, or I included just that one. All right, now this is the day before Thanksgiving. I'm coming back to Cedar Rapids. This is at Grinnell, of course, of eastbound CBBI on the interstate. That little Grinnell Railway Express building houses the Model Railroad Club in Grinnell. I don't know if you've ever been in there or not, Tom.
I haven't. I've seen it many times when I've gone to Grinnell to take shots of trains, and I've never actually knocked on the door.
I think it's open. I think it is open on Friday nights. Don't quote me on that, and I'll try to find out more sometime down the road. But I've been in there once when they've been open on Friday night. Very friendly guys will let you come in and take a look around. And their layout is based on, I think, late 40s or early 50s Grinnell, because it's got M and St. L, Rock Island models, and so forth like that.
Very interesting.
Yes. This is the Saturday after Thanksgiving in Bellevue. This is a 6:50 train on the CP headed south.
I see they already have their Christmas decorations up. They didn't waste any time.
They didn't waste any time that day. So this guy's going to go south, and then he'll turn the corner at Samoa, and then we'll go into Illinois and then across the DNI into Chicago. This is B 39 out of Savannah. This is at south end of Green Island here on a track that 50 years ago I rode on my very first train ride. Yep. And that's coming home. This is at just west of Stanwood, between Stanwood and Mechanicsville. A CHNP train on the UP.
Yeah, it's a full moon.
Yes, lights. I like that golden light too. Here's a rare move that happened on the Iowa Interstate. They tend to store a lot of cars on the old Pella line, Prairie City line. Well, one Sunday they pulled a bunch of probably, 70, 80 some cars off the branch here. So usually they would do this with the Jeep, but on this Sunday they used a 500 and backed down that branch to pick up all these empty storage cars, which I just thought it was quite amazing to see a 500 on such light rail, because that's not very heavy rail on that branch. Brad was out with me that day too, so here's another shot of that same move, backing down the branch to go get these storage cars. One of the interstate officials I know from Des Moines was over there too, so he kind of filled us in on what was going on as well. And he goes, "I knew you'd be out here taking pictures, yada 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 yada." So yeah, I think they picked up a bunch of empty tank cars is what they picked up, if I remember right there. Yeah,
it looks like it.
Yeah. So that's just something rare and unusual you just don't see. And I don't know how much longer that track is going to stay in. I'm sure it'll probably stay in for the foreseeable future if they've got to store more cars and so forth. But it stubs right in on the south side of Mitchellville. That's where it stubs. Right before Christmas, this is another BN coal train on the Iowa Interstate. This is taken from the County F90 overpass, just timetable west or compass south of DeSoto, and the train's around the curve there.
Cedar Rapids coal train?
Cedar Rapids coal train, yep.
Yep.
And that's the same train again going across the new Raccoon River Bridge there at Boonville.
Yes, they've even removed the old bridge completely.
Yeah, it's completely gone.
Yeah,
nothing. You wouldn't even know it was there.
Yeah.
So, it's the day after Christmas. I took mom and dad and my youngest brother out for a little ride. We drove out to Loudon. I think we had lunch at Whitey's there in Lisbon, and caught the late afternoon bird right east of Mechanicsville, doing about 70 miles an hour, just like a streamliner of old. And you can see they packed the power on this day for once, 5 units. And this was the last train I photographed in 2020. This is an eastbound bird again at Belle Plain on New Year's Eve. So,
yep.
And with that, I believe that is the end of our program.
It is. Well, thank you very much, Dave. We appreciate your contributions to our program this month.
Thank you. And I'm glad to have done it.
Yes. And so next month we're going to have George Davidson with an early Iowa Interstate program.
Yes.
And then we're going to have a second program in June also. We're going to do an Iowa Chapter Archive show in June.
That'll be a lot of fun. I helped George with his June program, and I encourage you, if you like the Interstate or like that old Iowa Interstate power, Paducah's, tune in. You're going to really enjoy his show.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much.